I am Kesten Rono, and today is day 72 of our exploration of the Course in Miracles. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Reviewing Principle 12. Miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience, or the higher or spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical and the other creates the spiritual. Miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience. One makes the physical. So the physical is made by thoughts representing the bodily level of experience or the lower level of experience. So thoughts representing the body, the lower level of experience. These thoughts create the physical experience. So thoughts about the physical experience, thoughts about the bodily level of experience, thoughts about the lower level of experience they make the physical. And thoughts about the higher or spiritual level of experience create the spiritual. If we're thinking about our bodily level experience, we are experiencing our bodily level. If we are looking around and what we see, our bodily level, lower level, it suggests physical effects, then we are thinking from this bodily level with our thoughts. So if we are thinking and what we are experiencing is the effects of how we are thinking, and everything that we are experiencing is physical, that could be our clue that everything we're thinking is bodily level. We're thinking about the body from the body's perspective, and we create the body. If we think about things from the higher level perspective, the spiritual level perspective, then we create the spirit, the spiritual level. Where we are existing. If we exist in a physical environment, we're thinking on the bodily level. If we exist on a spiritual plane, whatever that is, then we are thinking from the spiritual level, a higher level. Here's an example. You're naked in front of a mirror, in privacy, of course. It's just you and your mirror. What do you see? Of course, we would see our bodies. But is that what you really see? And is that what you see most of the time that you see yourself? Is that what you see all the time that you see yourself? Is it very rare for you to look in a mirror and not see yourself? Did I ask that right? Is it rare for you not to? Is it common that you see your physical self? That when you look in the mirror, of course, we see our physical selves, but is that what you see? Yourself, your physical self. Perhaps you are admiring or wishing that some other part of you looked differently. Maybe you're noticing your age over time, or something on you catches you off guard, so you want to inspect it. Maybe you want to fix your hair. Of course, these are all reasonable things. Is that what you're seeing most of the time? Or do you ever notice yourself in the mirror looking back at you? The closest I can relate is sometimes I see myself in the mirror. And I haven't been even really realizing that I've been using the mirror to inspect my physical self very much at all. I'm sure I do it daily, but I'm not very conscious of that. I surprise myself when I notice myself in the mirror. And then I remember that it's not the first time that I've noticed this, even if it wasn't what I was thinking about. I'm trying to say that I'm grateful for this opportunity to see whatever it is that I am, observing myself being in the mirror. That it's like one version is brushing my teeth and I'm absent-minded, so I'm thinking about whatever's next. And so that is just me brushing my teeth. And whatever I notice in the mirror is just whatever I'm noticing in the mirror about me brushing my teeth. And another version is I'm more present somehow, not that I would be aware of that in this moment, and I'm observing me brush my teeth. That there's an observer in addition to the actor, and I'm not in the perspective necessarily of the actor because I'm at least aware of some idea of an observer. Whereas previously I was just brushing my teeth as the actor, not a thought in my mind about the observer. I was only on the bodily level of thinking, and I was only having a physical experience that I can recall, at least in these scenarios. But sometimes there's something else firing, and if I look in the mirror, I see what I am supposed to say, I love you to. Have you been able to do that? Have you ever looked at yourself and said, I love you? And when you were looking at yourself and saying, I love you, were you scanning yourself physically? It would be okay. It would totally be okay. I've done that too. You see yourself physically and you say, I love you for all of the scars and ways that you could wish it was differently. Okay. And you can say you love that. That's fantastic. That's beautiful. And then, beyond the bodily level, would you consider that there is something about what you must know and possess for you to be able to offer it honestly to your bodily self? That love is something that you fundamentally must have access to if you want to be able to say, I love you and mean it. That you are offering yourself love, that you must know what it is. If you've done that, even on the bodily level, you're admitting to yourself that, if you're paying attention to this book, that you're participating in an active miracle. You're offering your reflection, or if you want to see your illusion, or whatever the case, you're offering yourself love for whatever it is that you're noticing about the bodily level. And when you consider it on the spiritual level, it's possible that when you look in the mirror, you can be taken aback for a moment in excitement to see your own idea of your observer looking back at you, because you are in the moment of being the observer of the person looking in the mirror, such that you are consciously aware of what that person in the mirror is doing. It's happening to me right now on this video, and I've never experienced on a video call before seeing my own self move. Maybe this lighting is causing a delay. Now I'm keenly aware that I'm speaking with myself. Sometimes when we look in the mirror and we are aware of ourselves in a present moment, even if we're brushing our teeth, that when we look in the mirror and we see ourself, our observer self, because we are in the observing position, something more akin to spiritual level thinking, however that occurs. We get a glimpse through all of it, and we see a validation that we do exist in this position. And what are we noticing? Ourselves, of all things. I haven't understood, well, I'll pause. Sometimes when I look into other people's eyes, I feel from this observer's position, this perspective. And sometimes I see their eyes look back. And sometimes we see each other's observers. And sometimes I can see their eyes asking, what is that? And I love that moment because I'm aware that part of this person is at least curious about some anomaly that's trying to get their attention. Or perhaps it's all in my own mind. But may you see yourself, may you be aware of yourself. Simply look at objects and notice them for what they are. Place them in the observed role. Allow yourself to be the observer. Hmm. Just like this book is asking us to do randomly, but focus on that object. And then look right at yourself in the mirror, right in the eyes. Maybe you will know what I mean. Miracles are thoughts. Thoughts can represent the lower or bodily level of experience or the higher or spiritual level of experience. One makes the physical and the other creates the spiritual. Or in another way, you have access to create both. Which one are you seeing? What would you have me do? Where would you have me go? What would you have me say and to whom? I asked these questions today in the park. I thought I was just goofing off because it said to do it tons of times an hour. And I realized that I've been somewhere else with my mind sometimes, most of the time. Do you know what I heard back? And I wanted to laugh at myself and say, it can't be true, and I won't bring it up here. When I said, what would you have me say? And to whom? I heard the truth. Okay, only God's plan for salvation will work. The truth it is, yes, sir. Holding grievances is the opposite of God's plan for salvation, and only his plan will work. 72. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Okay, holding grievances. This fundamentally is out of alignment with salvation. If we are focusing on our upsets, we will not be able to see our light. Holding grievances is an attack. Of course, if we are upset about something, we would be justified in how we feel. We either, in our justification of needing to defend ourselves, we are a helpless victim because we are under attack, and somebody will certainly come to our aid. We will think that that is salvation, external, and they will think that they are correct by defending the innocent victim. What we suffer deserves justice, and we are in the attack cycle. Or if we are upset on our own, we may want to attack. We think that will fix something, that it will end it. But just as we are human, having a bodily level experience, holding on to grievances, so would it be understandable if the people related to whomever or whatever we attack, if they also feel under attack, that we're creating the idea of attack, harboring our idea and sharing it with others through exactly what the idea is, attack. Attack may only attack. Holding grievances, having an allegiance to these illusions and our upsets is an attack that we feel justified that we must carry out because we're scared of whatever else could be. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan. That God has a plan. That if God exists, If we exist, and we exist as more than just our physical selves, then what is it that we are when we see ourself in the mirror? What is it that science would say it gives off light, emanates light from our physical selves that is not there when we die? How is it? How is it that it feels like at minimum and it seems like communication happens? Lovingly, at least, from those whom we love who pass. What is it about that? What is it that we are? That if we are, then we have been created, which would stand to reason that there is a creator of whatever that thing is, and even someone, I would imagine, who is squarely rooted on the bodily level, understands that something happens when someone dies. That something happens. Death is something other than a heart stop pumping. Of course, the heart pumping wasn't what was learning in school or playing outside. What is it that we are? God must understandably have a plan. If we are created, that would be, we would imagine, something that he created, that he planned, or that he planned for us as we are living across time and space. That therefore there's something to be done over some amount of time. That there's some kind of plan. What would a father want? How about success, happiness, peace, adventure? Someone who takes care of their family. Someone who is grateful. Someone who knows abundance. And more. This is what a loving father would want. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan that God does exist if you exist, and you are more than just a physical self. So therefore, there is a God. And that God, knowing however it is to create whatever it is that you are that we cannot yet put our finger on, beyond evaluation, we're told, right? That God would be able to create that. And we wouldn't know what it is. That's how powerful this version of God would be. And we want to go on attack with them by remaining upset. Holding grievance is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Then what is salvation? How about what we already just explained? That we are created, that we're more than just a physical self. And that if we are, whatever it is that created that more than physical self, which is beyond our valuation, while we're living inside of these attack thoughts. Whatever it is that we are has been created by some we would call realm of knowledge in this book. We know that as we have more information, we believe we are more at ease because we believe that we can predict what will be happening next. We take it to that nth. It's funny how much knowledge we gather, but we fail to gather this piece of knowledge that we've never been able to figure out exactly how it will go with all of our capabilities of predictions and models. So, if knowledge helps us feel safe, and whoever created whatever it is that we cannot understand about ourselves from this perspective must therefore possess some idea of greater knowledge than we can imagine. Perhaps the idea for salvation, his plan, is simply to have the things that your father would want you to have in the spiritual plane. that your salvation is to see yourself differently, or dually perhaps, to recognize that you have thoughts that can manifest the spiritual. When you gain knowledge through trust, by forgiving, in the name of love, that you step into a new realm of knowledge, that there is something else going on here, that you are more than just a physical self, and whatever is being exchanged between people is not only one of our five senses, that there is more that's going on here. And salvation is recognizing that it's obviously part of what existence is. And therefore, because it exists and we were unaware of it when we were unaware, but yet here we are. Salvation would be doing the illogical and exiting the attack thoughts, forgiving our grievances. What are we then if we release these old ideas of ourselves? Perhaps then we are a lot closer to understanding whatever it is that we are, as we are more pure, cleaner, relative to all of the darkness and illusion we were holding on to. That we are more open because we have learned to forgive. We do not need to hold on to something the same way that we did before, and we've been having an active practice of letting go. We would be the most curious, I imagine, that we've ever been, and the most receptive, with the most patience. We would have the opportunity to forgive again if we were hasty this time. But we've gotten comfortable with that. There's becoming less of a hurry. We are slowing down, and we are a lot lighter with the ideas that we carry. What do you imagine you would discover if you slowed down to notice whatever it is that you are, and you were in a position of great comfort and peace, and that this peace and comfort you are aware has been happening in your mind? Because when you are forgiving, from where are you noticing it? Is it tattooed on you? And even then, what would that mean when you read it? Of course, this idea you had was in your mind. That forgiveness is an invisible idea, sharing an invisible idea, that's love and peace for both parties, strengthening your conviction in the power of forgiveness, another invisible idea. And it's cleaning off an invisible idea, your mind, so that you can be revealed to something that's currently at least invisible to you, your light. Now imagine that you have reached this point. You are still you, just as I am sitting right here. You still exist. Yet now at this point, you have seen your light. How do you imagine your life would ever go back to trusting and believing in and giving your devotion to grievances in the physical? Could you even imagine unseeing what you have seen, unfeeling what you have felt? And if it is your light, which is at the end of this grievance tunnel, this chain of forgiveness, the atonement, the undoing, what do you think your light is? If it's not grievances, if it's on the pure other end of the spectrum, it's your holiness. And once you see it, we become curious about seeing all things that we saw before through our holiness. Anyways, I'll read the text. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. While we have recognized that the ego's plan for salvation is the opposite of God's, we have not yet emphasized that it is an active attack on his plan and a deliberate attempt to destroy it. Okay, so the ego's plan for salvation is to destroy God's plan for salvation. In the attack, God is assigned the attributes which are actually associated with the ego, while the ego appears to take on the attributes of God. Okay? Can you think of someone who is a leader, and in your opinion, they have made you promises out of truth and love? That they said that they are the ones who can save you. That maybe no one else can. They're the guy. They're taking on the attributes of God. They are the only Savior. Now we know this is external to us, so this is very likely untrue into the infinite. But once they become this righteous leader, they are pointing the finger at someone else. That someone else is fear-based. Someone else is here to destroy you. And now they're the ones who can save you. They create the cycle of attacks. Yes, it would be nice if, to achieve peace, we had leaders who focused only on peace. In the ego's attack, God is assigned the attributes which are actually associated with the ego, while the ego appears to take on the attributes of God. The ego's fundamental wish is to replace God. In fact, the ego is the physical embodiment of that wish. For it is that wish that seems to surround the mind with a body, keeping it separate and alone, and unable to reach other minds except through the body that was made to imprison it. The limit on communication cannot be the best means to expand communication. Yet the ego would have you believe that it is. Wow. This feels so true. That the ego is attempting to replace God, which feels illogical if you picture God as the Almighty. Okay? No matter how cool the ego is, it's not beating the Almighty. So it's already a hard thing to sell. So we could use fear. That if you don't buy this, and because you don't know what's happening in the future, just like I don't, this is the ego talking, except the ego likely realized that it's at best number 2 to the Almighty. It doesn't win. So it knows it will die. So to recruit hosts, let's say, to keep it alive by wearing the idea, that's you, that's me. Because fundamentally it can sell an idea that we do not know what will happen next, even though if we were aligned with God in the realm of knowledge, it would stand to reason even that we would have access to the realm of knowledge, being aligned with God. So the ego sells us something that says, that doesn't exist, that I am your savior. And in fact, if you go over there, you will be destroyed. And because we're so close to it and listening to it, we start to buy it. And enough people do that it becomes the norm. We accept it for ourselves instead of choosing to be curious if there is another way of looking at this. So the ego uses fear. So we align ourselves with fear. That will kill you. I will save you. And so its version of peace requires attack at all times. So we enter into a fearful based attack cycle mindset. And we are living squarely in the physical because we do not know peace and levity. So we cannot slow down and look at ourselves. It is that we are caught up in these ideas that we cannot reach a state where we are the last idea that we have, that we're curious about ourselves because we believe we are fending for our safety. When if we released ourselves from this idea, we would see that it is illogical and that we could be curious about our safety from some perspective that believes the idea of safety should exist, and it hasn't in the system that we've been paying attention to so far, the one that had captured us, the one that we had given our allegiance to. So we choose to take our allegiance somewhere else. If peace and love and security are not here, then maybe I should stop looking here. Where else could I look if this seems to be everything? Maybe I'll look in me. What's in here? I never asked myself how I feel without accepting a definition that I might have been creating, but either way, I was accepting it. Why do I fundamentally have to believe that I need to be in attack of something at all times? Why does it seem to me that the people who champion peace end up going to war? Why can't we have all information of unclassified documents? Why can't we just see it all in a timely manner? What would be so scary about knowing the truth if we were always doing everything in the way that we said we were? Or is it possible that when we call on moral character values and don't follow through with them, that we're selling something that we don't have, that we're watching the ego call itself God and something else the problem? What if we just said, it sure seems like what you're saying isn't lining up? And when you tell me that I can't see more information in order for this to be true, I understand that this is a psyop by definition. A doctor is supposed to offer informed consent. Here's all the things that could happen. Which route would you like to go? This is as best as we can understand it. As best as we can. A true scientist would be testing things and accepting whatever the outcome was, especially when it's reproducible, even if it was not what they were hoping for, or whoever funded them, hoping that they would find something in alignment with that would allow them to sell their product. When we give in to these kind of attack thoughts, and we just do not believe our eyes, that the person who is telling us this is always the truth has not always told us the truth. Maybe that's okay. Maybe we can offer forgiveness. But the idea that we are told that is always righteous or is always someone else's fault, and sometimes we get curious and learn possibly that doesn't seem like it was that way. Or maybe there were other incentives. Why did Britain lie to its people in World War I and tell them that all these war bonds were sold when it was the Bank of England having two of its own guys take out a loan and buy them all? Why did their media run? Congratulations, everything was sold. Why did we invent the idea of so much unbacked money to pay for a war for so long? Because someone else was very bad? Check the King's Journal. It's just a manufactured war with manufactured money on the back of a lie that caused destruction of people and the creation of capital instead of going to valuable resources, the creation of new assets with this capital to go blow up other assets and capital. All to sell some idea of fear and attack-based ideas. How many stories would we need to know if we just knew one? To know that we weren't always being told the truth about politics, media, money, war? What if that alone was an opportunity for us to say, hey, wait a second, this isn't what I thought it was. And me participating and believing what I hear next feels a little bit out of alignment. Are there other places that offer the opposite of what you're selling? Sound money, transparent information across media, peace, a competitive government attempting to create the most value, to bring in the most revenue, to produce the most thriving, abundant population, the widest borders of real peace. Is that existing somewhere? Are there options? Is there such thing as a non-inflationary, digital, self-sovereign, hard money, transparent, global? Is there a means to connect all people in their own best interest to save and share and let the free market decide what prices are, indicating what is most valuable by the actions of the community? What if that could expand beyond borders because it could not be stopped by anyone who is telling you that they're God when they lie? What if it was an opportunity for you to be self-sovereign and a practice to feel yourself? What if these ideas of sovereignty are creeping forward as general themes into your consciousness? What would it feel like to be self-sovereign? What would it feel like to know abundance? What would it feel like to know perfect peace and safety? What would it feel like to not be a part of the attack on God? This is suggesting that we are wrapping our minds in a body, that we're shielding our own ability to communicate by creating whatever this is. It's a cool trick if it's a trick. And from my body perspective, I'm grateful to have one and to be here and to host an idea of being alive. But if I can also feel whatever it is about me that is alive, I am curious about what would make it feel the best. Does it exist beyond my body? It feels so. Well, then what is it about the relationship of what is inside of me and beyond me? Where does that mean my body exactly is? It becomes a very curious idea. And suddenly it seems like we're freeing ourselves from the confines of our body, at least under some circumstances, some curiosities. But if we believe that we are inside of this prison and this deteriorating thing, and that's all that we are, and we give credence to this cycle of attack thoughts, we keep the mind separate and alone, unable to reach other minds, except through the body that was made to imprison it. The limit on communication cannot be the best means to expand communication. Of course, that if we are putting ourselves in some kind of shell, it's so that we don't grow, lest we come out of the shell. If We wanted to have communication with the invisible, to have access to it. We wouldn't put ourselves in here. What if it's the idea that we are choosing to accept that says we are only in here and we cannot have any kind of connection beyond these limiting senses, fantastic as they are? So please just keep playing with your limited senses and whatever you guys can fumble together. But it's really important that you keep doing that. Keep producing at all costs. Keep spending at all costs. At the total cost, at the cost, of course, because we won't be able to slow down when we're constantly being depleted and have to work harder to slow down and imagine whatever it is that we are working for at all in the first place. What are we? The ego does not want you to notice. It likes you inside of this decaying box. If it wanted you to be able to feel beyond, you wouldn't be aligning with its fear. This keeps you inside. Don't go out there and don't slow down and look inside. Logically, we would not limit our communication if we imagined it was the best means for expanding our communication. But here we are realizing that we are permeating ourselves anyways, talking about the invisible together. The ego would have you believe that limiting your communication by being in the physical and your association with it somehow will bring you salvation. You will find perfect peace and perfect safety by submitting to destruction and disease and death. That's what the ego would convince you of. And when you can sniff it out and you can see it happening in history and today, perhaps there is another way of looking at this. Although the attempt to keep the limitations that a body would impose is obvious here, it is perhaps not so apparent why holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. But let us consider the kinds of things you are apt to hold grievances for. Are they not always associated with something a body does? A person says something you do not like. He does something that displeases you. He, quote unquote, betrays his hostile thoughts in his behavior. You are not dealing here with what the person is. On the contrary, you are exclusively concerned with what he does in a body. You are doing more than failing to help in freeing him from the body's limitation. You are actively trying to hold him to it by confusing it with him and judging them as one. Herein is God attacked, for if his son is only a body, so must he be as well. A creator wholly unlike his creation is inconceivable. You are actively trying to hold him to it by confusing it with him. The it here is body's limitations. You are doing more than failing to help in freeing him from the body's limitations. Whoever attacked you. Whoever attacked you, you are actively trying to hold him to the body limitations by confusing the body limitations with him, judging him and the body limitations as one. Herein is God attacked. For if his son is only a body, so must he be as well. When we are expressing a grievance, I think the closest I've gotten to separating these ideas are, I'm not mad at you, I'm unhappy with what you did. Maybe this is something a parent might say, something along these lines. The last statement still indicates that the child, if that was a scenario, can do something that has an effect on the parent, that they are not responsible for how they feel. It's a little bit of a muddy statement when you take the words for what they are. But this is the best chance at separating the body from the person, the child, the being. That the being made a decision that was carried out with the body. And this is giving a little bit of a credence to the idea that they're separate. That I love you, I just didn't like this thing. But the truth is like the thing is separate from the being. And whom they love is whoever it is that's in the body. Like, please leave this action aside because I want to keep this thing. And when we're saying that I'm not mad at you, I'm mad at what you did, we're actually giving ourselves a clue that there's something doing the consideration of what could be done, right? And invisible. But we're doing it inversely. We're still assigning the value to whatever the body is by saying what was done, of course, was bad. And we just barely miss that if we want what was done not to happen again, then what was done would be downstream from some invisible processing that we are saying, I have a feeling which is invisible, and it wants me to teach you, someone I care about, a lesson about the invisible, that you have some ability to control whatever it is that you do, therefore what you're thinking about, that you are thinking. That's ultimately the lesson that we're saying, but we're not seeing it that way. Where whatever the invisible part is, we're trying to kick it out, and we just see the body. But it is that there is something that we are coaching that is in the invisible that is telling us that is what really matters. Even though we would be seeing our child, and of course we would want to take care of them and their body. But if we are only seeing it as physical, we are stuck in interacting as physical. And if we believe that we are only physical, and if we are the Son of God but unable to see it because we are only believing in the physical, then we are demanding that God must also be only in the physical. Because if he is our creator, then he must be creating us as he is. But that is what our mom and dad do. Our mom and dad make us in the physical. Maybe mom and dad in the spiritual have some creation of you in the spiritual. But mom and dad are making you physically, and you come out physical. Your creator of your spiritual is making your spiritual. So to release yourself from seeing yourself as physical, you must be able to notice that there is something else going on here. Then we can step through our feelings and this chain of forgiveness. But we can wake up to the idea that there is genuinely something that we're working with. And if we demand that there's not, we are only physical, and you're right. We should be fearful and try to plan because we will die and everything we have will be left behind when we get destroyed. We've placed ourselves inside of the ideology, and then we obsess over other ideologies. All of them, us grasping for meaning because we can't find it when this is our state, because there's more to us, and we just simply won't accept that it's there. I can relate to be responsible and realize that in your consciousness, you have infinite opportunity, but total responsibility. That's what growing up and being a man is. And the same, I would imagine, for being a woman. That you're stepping into something. You've been in it the whole time, but you're noticing it. Now is your timing. A creator wholly unlike his creation is inconceivable. If you believe you're only physical, then you only have a physical creator. And this is how God is attacked. It doesn't even need to exist. You will, of course, stumble looking for ideas of meaning and purpose. Where are they? What would they even be? What could be the most meaningful or purposeful thing? You will be busy in time and space, busy-minded, trying to save yourself, unable to figure out how to have purpose, when having purpose must be something that we enjoy. We know that people fall ill or die as they lose their purpose. The inverse is also available, that if it's to have dis-ease with no purpose, than it is to have ease with purpose. If God is a body, what must his plan for salvation be? What could it be but death? In trying to present himself as the author of life and not of death, he is a liar and a deceiver, full of false promises and offering illusions in place of truth. The body's apparent reality makes this view of God quite convincing. In fact, if the body were real, it would be difficult indeed to escape this conclusion. And if every grievance that you hold insists that the body is real, it does insist. It overlooks entirely what your brother is. It reinforces your belief that he is a body and condemns him for it. And it asserts that his salvation must be death, projecting this attack onto God and holding him responsible for it. If God is a body, what must his plan be for salvation? What could it be but death? How would you get out? In trying to present himself as the author, capital A, of life and not of death, he is a liar and a deceiver. That if we say God means life, that's blasphemy from the perspective of the ego. We call God a liar and a deceiver. He does not exist, the ego would say. Don't look. Where God says, you can look if you want. You can look as long as you want at the ego. I've left you everything you need to heal. That God allows you to do anything. That is your freedom. But you are perfectly safe no matter what you are doing. That you are always going to be curious about meaning and purpose. That you will always value the truth. And so, you will always find your way back to God and the unconditional, wholly unchanged, unconditional love that allows you to look at the ego. But if the ego tells you it does not exist, don't look, be afraid. That is the opposite of God, who allows you to get lost in the ego. Yet we call him full of false promises and tell him he is offering illusions instead of truth when we are aligned with the ego. The body's apparent reality makes this view of God quite convincing, that if you are associating yourself with the body and you are cementing yourself in that idea, you do not even have reason or need for a God. So you will say he is false. In fact, if the body were real, it would be difficult indeed to escape this conclusion. And every grievance that you hold insists that the body is real. We enter into a loop where we say the body is real, so God is fake. And we align ourselves with the problems we have, which are all associated with someone taking an action in a body. And then we're stuck in a cycle of attacks, fearful of getting out, lest we be destroyed. Illogical. To this carefully prepared arena where angry animals seek for prey and mercy cannot enter. Where angry animals seek for prey in an arena, no way out. And mercy cannot enter. It's a fight to the death inside this arena. You must find prey or be it. The ego comes to save you. God made you a body very well. Let us accept this and be glad. As a body, do not let yourself be deprived of what the body offers. Take the little you can get. God gave you nothing. The body is your only savior. It is the death of God and your salvation. In this story right here, this is the ego propositioning you inside of an arena of winner take all, guaranteed death for everyone else. And it says, see this death? God gives you only death. Accept that God is dead and you are saved. This is the universal belief of the world you see. Some hate the body and try to hurt and humiliate it. Others love the body and try to glorify and exalt it. But while the body stands at the center of your concept of yourself, you are attacking God's plan for salvation and holding your grievances against Him and His creation, that you may not hear the voice of truth and welcome it as a friend. Your chosen Savior takes His place instead. It is your friend. He is your enemy. So, it doesn't matter if we hate how we look and we cannot say, I love you in the mirror, or we are exuberant about how much we love how we look. If we are just seeing our bodies when we look in the mirror and we cannot see ourselves, then what hope will we have for being able to see life differently? Well, you're here listening or reading this or turning this off already. Maybe you already know that there is something more to what you are that creates the opportunity for God to be real, for you to ask questions and say, well, what would that be like? And to begin feeling in the direction of something that is suddenly offering you truth, rather than telling you what would be the truth and that you should be afraid to go look. In fact, you should pray for death. What kind of creator asks you to pray for death? While the body stands at the center of your concept of yourself, you are attacking God's plan for salvation and holding your grievances against Him and His creation, that you may not hear the voice of truth and welcome it as friend. Your chosen Savior takes His place instead. We will try today to stop these senseless attacks on salvation. We will try to welcome it instead. Your upside down perception has been ruinous to your peace of mind. We will welcome salvation. Your upside down perception has been ruinous to your peace of mind. You have seen yourself in a body and the truth outside you, locked away from your awareness by the body's limitations. Now we are going to try to see this differently. Great. The light of the truth is in us, where it was placed by God. The light of the truth is in you, where it was placed by God. The light of truth is in me, where it was placed by God. It is the body that is outside us and is not our concern. Okay. A little bit of supporting idea for another idea that I've shared before, which is that consciousness is not in the body. The body is in consciousness. That we are outside of the body, not within the body. If consciousness is in the body, it's contained inside the body, and the body is the container. If consciousness is what houses the body, the other way around, then consciousness is the container, which is infinite. Everything changes about it. The body is inside consciousness, but consciousness is fundamentally, therefore, outside the body. So, if it's a body, if the consciousness is in body, then okay, the body is embodied. It has consciousness. The body does. That's it. So it's just a body that we can praise or attempt to save. But if we can see our body in our consciousness, suddenly we are infinite and we are fundamentally beyond the confines of the body. And at the same time, we can see our body, the physical thing that we had assigned ourselves to, and therefore likely everything that's physical. We can see our body through our own consciousness, from the perspective of our consciousness, and suddenly everything that you are seeing is enveloped in your holiness. Everything, my suspicion is, revolves around seeing this differently, and what would be fundamentally the most different than how we are seeing. For me, it is to understand that the body is in consciousness, that what you are, your consciousness, houses your body. It is outside of an idea of a body, that your consciousness is what creates the idea of a body, that the body is safe because it is in consciousness. That is how you could be perfectly safe, even though it breaks all the laws of the identification from the physical part that is created by the consciousness. That if you would like to see consciousness, which is all around you, if you'd like to see it only from the lens of the body, then dive right in. But consciousness is still existing all around you outside the body. And because fundamentally it is outside of you and within you, it is everywhere. So if you can find it in you, you can expand outside of yourself. You're fundamentally connected to all there is, because now your reality is that your body is in consciousness. It's as fundamentally changing as accepting that the earth goes around the sun now, instead of the sun around the earth. New ideas begin to work just because the idea of how you were picturing it being true changed in your mind, because you saw something new. You have seen yourself in a body and the truth outside you, locked away from your awareness by the body's limitations. Now we are going to try to see this differently. The light of truth is in us, where it was placed by God. It is the body that is outside us and is not our concern. The light of truth is in us. This is what we fundamentally are by God. It is the body that is outside us and is not our concern. To be without a body is to be in our natural state, to identify with your conscious perspective. To recognize the light of truth is us to recognize ourselves as we are. To see ourself, capital S, ourself, as separate from the body is to end the attack on God's plan for salvation. To see ourself as separate from the body is to end the attack on God's plan for salvation. and to accept it instead. And wherever his plan is accepted, it is accomplished already. By fundamentally accepting that you exist outside of your body, that your consciousness is not confined to whatever your body is, and it's time walking. To accept that you are more than or different than, outside of the physical container which you have believed you have been the entire time. To notice that there could be another way of seeing things as you become curious and ask questions, and simply listen for what the answers are rather than demand that you know what they must be. As you recognize your consciousness, you have the opportunity to accept that it is true, that it is there, and that you are able to see yourself outside of your body. Accepting that this is true, which I suppose we are being at least curious about. I don't know what happens at the salvation graduation party. I don't know what it feels like, but it certainly seems at least logical at this point as we discuss it. Does it not? That there is something of you that is not contained by a body, that brings with it curiosity about ideas of truth and love. That if you can accept this, you have already done all the work. To see ourselves as separate from the body is to end the attack on God's plan for salvation and to accept it instead. So you're accepting God's salvation. You're accepting his plan. You can see yourself as a spiritual idea. And wherever his plan is accepted, it is accomplished already. Could you imagine agreeing to a contract and it being instantly or already, in fact, not even instantly, already completed? That if you can accept God's plan for salvation, fundamentally, wherever it is that you are accepting it, his plan is complete. You now see yourself for what you are, for your light. That is God's plan. What will you do as a creator in light? Our goal in the longer practice periods today is to become aware that God's plan for salvation has already been accomplished in us. That your light is God's plan for salvation. Seeing it is all that need be done. It's just here, waiting for us to notice it. Infinitely patient, formless, limitless. It's your idea of light. It's your light. It's just there. Would you dare feel it? If you accept that it is, that you can see beyond your body self only, well, if we can at least reason a little bit now, we are likely becoming close to aligning with this perspective because we can feel excited. We can feel something about us that is drawn to this idea as we therefore become this idea. We try to embody this idea. What is it? What is it? Because it's not us as we understand ourselves. It's not hurting us. It's an idea. So we become very curious about what it feels like. When we are operating in that realm, what physical sense are we using? No, we've given permission to be ourselves in this spiritual way as we ponder something that's fundamentally spiritual, our light. We're becoming that wavelength. That is what we're here for. To achieve the goal of accepting that God's plan for salvation has already been accomplished in us, we must replace attack with acceptance. Attack with acceptance. As long as we attack it, we cannot understand what God's plan for us is. We are therefore attacking what we do not recognize. Now we are going to try to lay judgment aside and ask what God's plan for us is. Couldn't we do this with darkness too? Aren't we just attacking because we do not understand it? That we're afraid of it? We do not recognize it? And we're casting judgment on it. Wouldn't that be true what we are doing for darkness too? That we're just not giving it a chance. Does it feel true to see light and to want to attack it? Does that feel right? Even though when we see it, we can say, ooh, that is foreign. It's overwhelming because it's new. It seems very intense, as if it's a lot of information, maybe all information. I don't know about that, but typically I don't know about that yet. That there'll be a curiosity for it, and there could be a curiosity in the direction of darkness. So if darkness approaches and says, you just haven't been giving me a chance, does it feel true that you need to give this a chance? Would it also not be comfortable? And wouldn't that feel like darkness? This could be our first clue that we can feel that we are on the right track because we are talking about ideas of love and truth. They have a resonance. We're aligning with the resonance, not what we are hearing when someone says, I'll tell you the truth. Okay, cool. That could be true given these sets of variables, but I'm talking about the truth, the idea of truth. I want to vibrate with the idea of truth. That way, if you tell me what you say is the truth and I don't know, all I need to trust is it vibrating in harmony with me? Or do I feel some intuition or even some voice, but do I feel some intuition about saying, whoa, I don't know what it is, but I can't help but feel something is off. And I regularly align myself as best as I know with the truth, meaning I'm open to change at all times for anything that is in alignment with what is creating the most abundance and love and safety and peace. Right now, it sounds like a lot of talk. I'm here, obviously, changing parts of me that I'm opening up to myself. And I'll start there. And maybe that's the whole point. Now we are going to try to see things differently. That God placed this light in us, the light of truth. We accept his plan. It is accomplished already. We have been attacking God instead of accepting because we cannot understand what his plan is. How do you understand the infinite and how it planned for you when you see yourself finitely? We are therefore attacking what we do not recognize. Now we are going to try to lay judgment aside and ask what God's plan for us is. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. Creator, what is salvation? I don't get it. Please Help me understand. I want to understand. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. Then we will wait in quiet for his answer. We have attacked God's plan for salvation without waiting to hear what it is. We have shouted our grievances so loudly that we have not listened to his voice. We have used our grievances to close our eyes and stop our ears. Now we would see and hear and learn. What is salvation, Father? Ask and you will be answered. Seek and you will find. We are no longer asking the ego what salvation is and where to find it. We are asking it of truth. Be certain then that the answer will be true because of whom you ask. We are asking our Creator directly to the Creator, whoever is operating the public-private key pair of Creator is who we are contacting. Who is it? Not who tells me who the Creator is. Who has the keys? Creator. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. Directly to Creator. Then we will wait in quiet for his answer. Be certain that the answer will be true because of whom you ask. Whenever you feel your confidence wane and your hope of success flicker and go out, repeat your question and your request, remembering that you are asking of the infinite Creator of infinity, who created you like himself. What is salvation, Father? Remember that you are asking of the infinite Creator of infinity, who created you like himself. You are infinite, is what this would suggest. That your Creator is infinite and creates infinity, which is you. That you are formless and limitless fundamentally from the idea of whatever, whomever could possess infinite knowledge. The eternal realm of knowledge would have to be beyond all time. Remember, time is where the learning is done. That if you would have to learn everything for all time, everything that could ever be experienced in all of time. An infinite quest, a genuinely infinite quest. And the Creator that we're saying here is in the eternal realm of knowledge. They are beyond time. They understand the infinite. They are infinite. They must fundamentally be infinite to exist from a perspective that could be beyond time. Does that make sense? You and I exist for some duration in time, within time, across space, in the physical. That is where the physical exists, in time. So some sliver of time, of total time. That's where you and I are. Wonderful. Wonderful. It could be short or it could be long. It's relative. But it's not all that you are, of course. Once you can try on this perspective to get connected to God, you can talk to him. You can say, "What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand." We are trying to understand because we are in one of these little slivers of time. That if we had 10 times the amount of life, Imagine what you could learn in 1,000 years. You would know so much, or you would have experienced so much relative to anyone who lived even 100 years. 10 times a lifetime would see a lot of things change. You would have the opportunity to know more things than any one person could ever know, even across their entire life. That is the power of what time theoretically offers. And now you can imagine that, of course, if time continues and you could have all of it, you would want to try to live forever. You would be trying to replicate an idea of God. And if you were going to be becoming God, you would have to dismantle anyone else's opportunity to notice God within themselves. Because you were going to be demanding it that you were God, that you were the one. It's not even about ruining someone's adherence to their religion. It's about making sure that they cannot wake up to their own sovereignty. That all the rules that we submit to are rules that we created as humans, as all there is. And this is still what we want to organize. Where is our allegiance in our incentives? Are we doing our best? I have not always been doing my best from this perspective. Or are we just believing that we're doing what is right because it's the way the system is working? I assure you it's not working. But you're here. And you're curious about seeing something different. And you want fundamentally to be part of something representative of abundance, truth, and love. So you, having not seen these everywhere you look, want to see them everywhere you look. So you will try on these ideas, and they will change you because you will realize that you have been associating with some idea about yourself, that you are fundamentally not the idea itself, that you are something that is allowed to wear the idea. You are changing. What are you becoming? Where would abundance, truth, and love exist? It doesn't exist in the current system, nor in your physical self. And as you forgive old ideas, you are seeing life differently. You are noticing that there is something else about whatever these ideas are that must fundamentally be different than whatever you were feeling before, that you have been curious about what they are and they haven't been here. And you can't find them anywhere. And so you are becoming more and more and more these ideas yourself. You must fundamentally become them yourself because they do not exist anywhere else. But you know about them. You're curious about them. It seems illogical because it is within the system. But that is what you are becoming as you feel what these ideas might be like, since they don't exist in truth in your life. What are they in truth? What is perfect peace and perfect safety? What would it feel like? It takes you somewhere beyond your physical self. What are you there? When you're here and you're not in allegiance to the ego, you can't be, not at least in this moment. Maybe we feel we can go back because we have not fully understood. And we continue this attack on God, even though we are waking up to some idea about ourselves that we cannot set aside. And the ego would not tell us that is okay. But what would it mean that if we could have access to this and somehow it was okay that we were being curious about the ego? What other idea about who could have created us if it hasn't been the ego as our savior? What other idea would offers such unconditional opportunity to even step away from our own love. What? What would allow us to do such a thing? To let us go rather than tell us that that would mean death. It couldn't mean death from only one perspective, the unconditional love, that you are never separate from it, that you are always connected to the truth through the light that you are, that you fundamentally are formless, limitless light, that you are infinite. Infinite. If you believe you are anything less, then your creator is not infinite. If your creator was infinite, has no end, is not finite, if it could be infinite and have everything, it could never lose anything. That's what the infinite is, infinite. It could never lose anything by giving it away. It's infinite. So it would create you in infiniteness, in infinity. You would also be infinite. If you are of the infinite, then you are of whatever infinite is, which is infinite. It sounds like I might be repeating myself, but do you understand that the idea itself can only be the idea itself? And if your creator is infinite, you are infinite. Repeat your question and your request. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. Remembering that you are asking of the infinite creator of infinity, who created you like himself. Who are you asking? Whom are you asking? It matters where you are setting the intention of where this is going. I am sending this question to the one that I will call Father, but not the one who purports to be my Father. Anyone who is purporting to be my Father, this message is not for you and you will not hear it. This message is for Father, as in the infinite creator. If there is an infinite creator, you would know and hear me now. Of course, if you are infinite, you would be everywhere and in everything, and I am of you. You are infinite after all, and if I exist and you are infinite, then I cannot be outside of you. So I know that you know who, what I am. And I know that you are listening. This is the Father that we address when we say the infinite creator who creates infinity and who created me. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. That we are asking the infinite creator of infinity who created us, that we exist, that we have the opportunity to hear our minds asking a question of an idea of an infinite creator, that if they are infinite, then we must therefore be within their infinity. They are all things, and I am a thing. So I am asking the Creator, which is likely reflecting my answer to me in the very question of wherever it is that I am, that I now am seeing myself as a consciousness within the infinite, with direct communication because I am of the Creator, and I have infinity for myself, that I am also infinite. The infinite, that we are one, therefore, in all things. That would be the only way. This is why we could be part of God's definition. This is why it is already done for us simply to notice. What could be done? What could it be? Anything that could be done. What would that have to be if it could be anything that God's plan for salvation would be? If it could be anything and it would already be done, it would have to be the infinite. That would leave out nothing. And the infinite would already house everything that is already done. It is the infinite. Simply noticing what we are and accepting God as a creator automatically has already completed us, therefore, being infinite. For God being infinite, for us being absolutely, innately one. This is who we are talking to when we say, what is salvation? Of course, we know we're still purporting to be less than infinite when we ask this question. What is salvation? If we are existing where we were just describing, you are in the infinite. You are as saved could ever be. That is it. That is salvation. We do know what it is. And we still ask, thank you. Thank you for your guidance. Infinite creator of infinity who invented me, who created me, who creates with the infinite. Thank you. I ask you, please allow it to be clear to me. Allow me to please understand what salvation is. Please tell me, what is it to be infinite, to know perfect peace and perfect safety, freedom from worry, for that idea to be innate to me? If I am infinite, I would like to know. Please tell me that I would know, as in all knowingness, what infinite is. May I see myself as the infinite. May I see in truth, and may I see all things in the infinite. Absolutely everything, every detail of everything. May I see everything enveloped in my holiness. And now we are with God. There is no ego that will be showing up there that will be able to match the resonance of the infinite, the vibration of what truth is, of which you are remembering. God will answer. He will answer. Be determined to hear. One or perhaps two shorter practice periods, an hour, will be enough for today, since they will be somewhat longer than usual. I was walking in the trees today. It's snowing. Or maybe I was running. I did both with a dog. And this idea of practicing several times an hour or longer periods for every single hour, I asked myself, how would that be possible? I'm on the phone right now. How? How can I really offer my presence? And then it dawned on me that everything else that I'm doing, I'm assigning my salvation to it. If I do this thing, then everything will be okay. And it feels like that's right. But I had to laugh at my own illusion that every time I'm not remembering is the same as just me aligning myself with my illusions. That somehow I don't feel that this is what is happening, but I'm going to cast everything aside that I'm assigning meaning to. I could not imagine not wanting to be with this dog every day. And I hear my own spelling saying, I couldn't imagine it. I don't want to imagine it. If this is hell, so be it. So be it. Till the very end. So, even then, I believe I'm saying that out of love. Maybe I'm saying it out of defense. Maybe I'll awake to that idea further. But truly, truly, what else is it that I would need to be doing, at least with my spare time, even though therefore we would be assigning many things to a greater importance than our salvation, of seeing ourselves as infinite? Of course, seeing yourself as infinite would automatically have made everything that you were worrying about obsolete, because it would have already been true that you are infinite. So all of the things that were in the past instantly dissolve, because seen from the infinite, they always exist. They never exist. They're not this opportunity for illusion, because you're not assuming some tiny fraction of infinity for experience. To contemplate yourself as the infinite, to feel whatever it is, to say, Father, what is salvation? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. To ask this question and to realize that we haven't been listening before, and we haven't been asking the idea that we were just imagining, the infinite creator of infinity. And we don't realize that we have been created by the creator who creates infinity. If we can't realize that's who's asking, and that's who we are asking, whom, then we never get the question across in the right energy in order to be able to hear an answer that would come back from the infinite, to be received by the infinite. We would have to believe that we could understand an infinite idea. How could we? Because we are infinite. If we cannot see at least that possibility, how could we give this question intention? Not to be confused when we hear something back from someone else who claims to be God, our Savior. And we say, oh, here you are, finally, thank you. Not realizing that they're outside of us again. We weren't asking for salvation for some kind of attack outside of us. I'm asking God, the creator of the infinite creator of the infinite, who created me. I'm asking from me, who must be trying to understand again how I was already infinite, and everything I knew about myself as I come closer to that is clearly an illusion, because I already was infinite during the time that I thought I was being destroyed or scared or shameful or whatever. Whatever. Your shorter periods, twice an hour, should begin with this: holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Let me accept it instead. Accept God's plan for salvation instead of grievances. What is salvation, Father? Then wait a minute or so in silence, preferably with your eyes closed, and listen for his answer. So the longer sessions are simply saying, what is my salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. Be certain that the answer will be true because of whom you ask. Know whom you are asking. The infinite creator of infinity. That's what you mean when you say Father. When you ask yourself, what is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. You can repeat this and then sit in silence and wait for that whom you are asking to respond. Excuse me, you'll wait for who. You will wait for whom you're asking to respond. With levity. Thank you. What is salvation, Father? I do not know. Tell me that I may understand. And for the shorter periods, holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. That's today's lesson title. Holding grievances is an attack on God's plan for salvation. Let me accept it instead. What is salvation? I am Kesten Rono. I am sustained by the love of God. I release my grievances. I forgive my upsets and my attacks. I accept God's plan that the light of truth is within me. And I accept salvation. Thank you for showing me salvation through life rather than living in a hell where salvation may only come through death. I choose peace from peace, through peace, by knowing whatever it is. And today, I ask the infinite creator of infinity who created me, Father, if I am willing, and I am willing, please accept me along this process. If I am willing to release the grievances that I've been holding on to lay down my need for attacks, to relax, to forgive, to let go of these grievances, to break this cycle of attacks, if I am willing, and I am willing, to accept your plan that you have created me with formless, limitless light of life, of truth, then please, as your son, please, infinite creator of the infinite, tell me what salvation is, so that I may know, so that I may understand. Please tell me so that I may understand. I do not know. And I am unable, with how I am seeing now, to see myself in truth, in the infinite. Please tell me so I may understand. See you tomorrow.